Welcome to Invincipod, probably the greatest podcast about the Amazon original series Invincible. My name is James.
I'm Ralph.
And we finally have the first, 3 episodes of Invincible. But this episode, we are just going to talk about the opening episode. I've completely lost the title of it. What was it called?
It's called It's About Time.
It's About Time.
It is. And I've only watched this one episode. I know there's another Invincible podcast out there, and they released all 3 of theirs. We're splitting ours up throughout this first week, so you'll get the next 3 by the time the 4th episode comes out. So that's just a bit of programming.
And then going forward, we're looking for a Monday release schedule, aren't we?
Right.
A little bit of house cleaning just off the bat there for you.
Yeah. Man, dude.
How good was this?
There's an Invincible TV show.
And it's the most true comic book adaptation I think I can remember. It's perfect.
Right. Even though there's changes. And I feel like things may be sped up a little bit. Like story-wise, as far as...
Yeah, certain things definitely are.
The timeline of the book. Our friend Jay hasn't read the book. And I've been hyping up the series. And so he's like, should I read the book first or should I watch the series? I'm like, I mean, you're kind of here now if you want to like be a part of everyone talking.
Yeah.
You might not get through the book because he had the Compendium Volume 1, the hardcover.
Yeah.
And so I told him, watch the show first.
I've been telling people the same thing. Like, if they haven't read the book, then watch the show, and then like between seasons, that's a great time to then like catch up.
Right. And so I watched the first episode and I'm like, oh, I didn't know this Guardians of the Globe thing was going to happen yet. So I sent him a text. I'm like, maybe read the book first because I feel like the book it's more of an impact. And he said, I watched the first 3 episodes.
See, oh, wow. Okay, cool.
So I'm like, okay, don't read the book.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're up. You know what's coming. Let's get straight to that. The fact that the end of this first episode, we get the murder of the Guardians of the Globe.
Right. And it's more brutal than the book.
And it's not a secret who did it.
No.
I think it's one of those things. I was talking to a friend who I introduced to the books a long time ago.
Yeah.
He sent me a text last night. And he's like, what did you think? And we talked about it a little bit. And I was like, I don't want to burn out too much because I'm doing the podcast tomorrow. But the way I sort of thought about it, I was like, okay, so Kirkman wrote this first episode.
Mm-hmm.
He obviously created the series. This is his baby. And I think it's adapted well for TV. It's not a book where they can do 6 issues or whatever to like draw out the mystery. It's a case of, we need to get people in, get people hooked, show them that this isn't just your typical superhero fare. This is something a little bit different. So, boom, here's the big thing. Here is Nolan, Omni-Man, killing these heroes that we are introduced to right at the start of the show.
Right, that was
built up to be. Yeah, they're built up to be like. I mean, they are the Justice League. They are, your Avengers. They are the team.
They're mostly the Justice League, though. It's a one for one. It's a one for one. Like obviously, homage to Justice League, which is what I've always loved about the Kirkman book is that the book kind of embraces comics history, but also takes some of the piss out of it.
Yeah,
and
100%.
like pokes and prods it, and I love that. Like it's obviously Martian Manhunter, Green Lantern, Flash, all those guys.
And you got like Omni-Man and the Immortal are kind of your Superman analogies,
right?
Both of them, but like in design wise, the Immortal has got like a lot more of a Kirby look to him, I think,
right?
Which works.
I was telling my friend Jay, because my friend Jay knew that something was up. He knew. I gave him stuff like, you got to read the book. There's crazy stuff that happens, and it looks like the crazy stuff we've been teasing on this show.
Oh, yeah.
About the big twist. And he sent me a text message this morning, was like, was that thing with the Guardians the big twist you were talking about? And I said, not really. I mean... It's a big thing. It's definitely a big thing, but it's big.
it's not what we have been alluding to as what we expect to be the end of the season.
No. The scene. Okay, hold on. The scene is amazing. I loved it, and I was super excited. But like you said, there is no questioning who did it. And even if you read the book, it's kind of obvious.
Yeah, but I think it's one of those things that, I mean, and they say it in the fight. I think it's the Immortal and War Women that are like, he must be getting controlled by someone.
Yeah.
Or something. And they're like, it doesn't matter. In the moment, it doesn't matter. It's him or us.
Right.
And so I think there is an element of that in the book and in the show still, like, where it's like, why is he doing this? What is he doing?
Yeah. And in the book, you have a little bit more time with Nolan seeming a little bit off. I know that the family kind of questions him, and he seems a little bit like he's got something on his mind as soon as Mark gets his powers.
Just come back from... Hasn't he just come back from being away?
Yeah, I think so.
At that point. So I think right. that happens. I think that happens first, if I remember rightly, in the book. Right. So, there could be something to do with that, but I don't want to say any more about that because you haven't seen the next couple of episodes.
Right. It's funny because I know what's going to happen. I know everything that's going to happen in the book, but now watching the series, yesterday I woke up because I go to work. I work graveyard, so I'm working in the middle of the night. Didn't have time to watch the show. Came home, went to bed. Still didn't get to watch the show until late Friday night. Woke up to a text that said, "R.I.P. Fishman," and I'm like, so I'm like, okay, I'm like, oh shit, are the Guardians dead already? I text back and they're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, clearly this is happening different than the book, so stop talking to me about stuff. And then they started bringing up the aliens that age and the plot. I'm like, dude, stop it.
Yeah, enough.
I know what this stuff is more than you. You haven't read the book. I know what this stuff is, but I don't want to know when it happens because it's clearly stuff is being rearranged.
It's shuffled around, and we get that right from the start of the episode. When you get this quite prolonged just dialogue between John Hamm and the other security guard,
right?
And they're just chilling, and they're just guys having a chat, and it's like, okay, cool. And then we get the attack on the White House.
Yeah, what's hilarious is we're watching that. Me and my wife are watching that scene, and he's just going on and on about this stepson, and finally connecting and going on this big trip, and he's going to be away from all the action, and you're just like, Kirkman, setting this dude up for a brutal death. Dude, he survived though, right?
Yeah, he's alive.
So that's
we may see that trip to London.
Yeah. Oh no, I forgot. So for those of you that haven't read the book, Kirkman does this thing. Oh shit! Now I'm super excited to read. Now I'm super excited to read because Kirkman does this thing where he sets shit up way in advance, so you're saying that. And
you're not going to hire John Hamm for one scene.
I mean, who knows?
Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe, yeah. I mean, I don't think when we saw his name in the credits, we would have guessed that he would have just been some lowly White House security guard talking about his problems with his stepson.
I didn't even recognize it was him. I didn't know that was his...
Amazon have because they own IMDb, you can just sort of tap on the Apple TV and it just brings up the cast that are in that scene.
Oh.
So I did that and I was like, oh shit, that is John Hamm. And then second time round, I clocked it straight away.
I'll have to watch it again, dude. But it was so just the Robert Kirkman of it all, him setting up this super sappy story about this guy, and it reminded me. I told her it was the character Dead Meat in the movie Hot Shots.
Yeah, God, yeah.
Where she's like, you need to sign the life insurance papers, and he's like, I'll do it after this mission. And he walks under the ladder. I'm waiting for this dude to die. But that scene was great. We get the Mahler twins, played by Kevin Michael Richardson. I knew that right off the bat because it almost sounds identical to his voice of Kilowog in the Green Lantern series. Yeah. And then the Guardians of the Globe.
They've got their great dynamic as well with the sort of fighting over who's the clone and who's the prime.
Which I'm assuming neither of them are. I think that's kind of alluded to in the book.
That with the book, this was they're both the clones.
Yeah. I did like John Hamm did get a shot off and actually did some damage.
Yeah, he poked an eye out.
Right in the eye.
Which, I guess helps differentiate between the two when we're going to see him again, because they are recurring villains.
Right. Oh my gosh. I saw the thumbnails for the 2 upcoming episodes, and the 3rd episode looks like it is the I don't know if this is spoiling it, but it looks like it's the funeral for the Guardians of the Globe in the 3rd episode. Okay. Yeah, so I'm assuming if it's based on the book, we may see them again.
I'm not saying anything.
I don't know.
Well, we're going to talk about it in a couple of days' time.
I'm so excited because I want to talk about Immortal more, but I'm afraid that people will be like, why would you talk about Immortal more?
Yeah, I mean, he's dead. He doesn't have a head anymore. Not that's attached to his body anyway. That was so brutal. I mean, we were talking about it in our preview episodes, but they really have leaned into like the Ryan Otley hyper gore with that fight.
Speaking of Ryan Otley, he gets credited as a co-creator of the comic, which is great. Love.
Yep. I mean, I think like since he took over the art, like on what, issue 7 or something?
Yeah.
It has been like his book, but we talked about it as well. It's like it is the 3 of them, which is great.
But I think the book always said created by Kirkman and Walker.
And Corey.
Yeah. So, like, just seeing his name on there made me so happy. It's like he's so integral to the book.
Oh yeah, yeah, and the style of everything going forward. Like, we got introduced to the characters with Corey Walker, but it wasn't until we got Ryan Otley that the fight sort of had the dynamic nature that we sort of have been raving about.
Especially that Guardian scene. The Guardian scene is, dude, I laughed. Me and my wife laughed so hard. And it's awful because it's bloody and violent, but when War Woman got her head spun and then she just barfed out blood. Oh my God, dude.
There's a lot of puke in this show. Like, as soon as Red Rush in that opening scene is like getting the civilians out, he's like, no, please don't. As soon as one of you goes, all of us are going to go. And then it's like, they all just start puking in turn. And then he does as well. He's like, all right, great.
Yeah. Great scene with the Guardians. The Green Ghost has been gender swapped, which is fine.
There's another character who's been gender swapped who we meet in another episode, which again is fine, it's cool. I like it, and it works. And the job that they gave her as a fashion photographer is great. Instead of having a ring, it's what, like a lozenge.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what I liked, was that it was gender swapped. I'm like, I thought the Green Ghost was a man, but now, like, if you read Green Lantern, I mean, there's now a Green Lantern, or if that's a woman, there's all kinds of Green Lanterns. So her powers are a little bit different. She kind of has more of a Martian Manhunter, being able to like,
I mean,
turn into nothing, and
they are sort of 1-for-1, but the powers are slightly tweaked and everything.
Right.
They're not exactly the same.
Right.
I mean, War Woman's kind of got a little bit of Thor in her with her hammer mace thing.
Right. I just read. I mean, you guys know this. I just reread like the first 3 trades of Invincible. I don't remember the girl with Martian. I don't know.
No, that was the one thing. Like that scene, the montage of being introduced to them all in their sort of civilian lives.
Right.
It was almost like frame for frame, like the Red Rush one sitting on the hill having a picnic with his fiance or girlfriend or whatever. Like that was identical. It looked ripped right out of the books.
Right. Same with I was gonna say Aquaman. I don't know the
Aquaman. Let's just call it Fish Person. And
that was the same.
I mean that with just the way he sort of slunched over, leaning on his fist board. Those 2 in particular were like frame for frame. But then they tweaked Green Person. What's the character?
The Green Ghost.
Green Ghost. There you go. So they tweaked Green Ghost a little bit, and the Martian Manhunter, or Martian Man, isn't it? It's just Martian Man.
I think so.
That sort of almost had like a bit of a Billy Batson vibe to it, just hanging out with the kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, working on the powers.
The Darkwing intro
Yep.
With the two burglars that were like ripped straight out of the '89 Batman.
100%.
Like, loved it. Loved it.
Yeah.
The one guy didn't look the same. The guy with the beanie looked the same, but their voices at the very beginning were exactly like the dudes from the '89 Batman. And,
I mean,
and that's
is completely from it. It's
like
great.
That's what I like about the Invincible book is when they put in like characters from other stuff. Like you see it a lot at the high school.
High school's full of them, like Jay and Bob are there, Bill and Ted. Like, yeah.
There's even a panel that I think it's a Cory Walker one, where it's a man who looks like Charlie Brown.
Yes.
Like with
he's got the
bald head. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like seeing these two guys, because in the high school I was looking for that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. I didn't really notice anything, but when those guys showed up and they're like, "Oh man," it's like just straight out of like a man dressed like a bat. Like those guys, it made me so happy that like it's keeping the spirit of the book. Like I don't think those guys were in the book, but that whole taking from comics history is alive and well.
We haven't talked about Mark yet. We haven't talked about the titular character of Invincible.
Can I just say I actually really enjoyed his arc in this, maybe even more than the book.
I think so too. I think he's got more depth to him.
There's him kind of coping with the abilities, him like getting the abilities later in life is been mentioned in the book, but it's eating it away at him more.
It's a struggle for him when like we're introduced to him sitting on the toilet reading Seance Dog, which is a tweet.
I have questions about that, so let's go back to that in a bit.
We'll come back to it. But yeah, we're introduced to him, and he's just, he's a 17-year-old kid he knows these powers should be coming, but he's like, well, he's struggling with it, like on top of everything else that 17-year-olds are struggling with, because he's like, where are they? Like, when is this going to happen? And there's a scene, it's when Nolan gets back from that fight at the White House. Yeah. He's like, right, well, we're going to go to Germany for breakfast. And he's like, oh man, I want to go. I want those sausages.
The best worst.
And he's like, yeah. And Nolan's like, well, when your powers kick in, you can go. And he's like, oh, salt in the wound. Like,
yeah,
you know that this has been eating at him for a while.
Right. And then when he gets his powers, they're not good enough. And that's something I don't think they talk about in the book.
It's almost like they've been waiting, instead of prepping him and Nolan doing like some almost like pre-powered training with him.
Right.
It's just like, right, you've gotten from nothing to everything. And the scene where Nolan punches him in the chest.
Right. That's new. I think.
That is new.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. If it's not, then it's played very differently.
And I love it.
It packs a punch.
Right. And I feel like it serves two purposes.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
we know. And I just like, it's set up so great on the show. And we'll be coming back to that scene for sure down the road. But like what's been eating Nolan, and you almost feel like like he says it. He wishes that Mark never got the powers.
If it's happening so late.
I mean.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
The way it's played, where it's like Mark even sort of says it later when they have like another confrontation on the roof in the city.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not that it was the pain, it was the shock of getting punched in the chest by his dad, who is his hero. And it's like that oof, and it is, it's a familial thing. And
I feel like it feels like in the show that almost the more he gets hit, the stronger he becomes.
I don't know if that's an actual power thing or if that's just a attitude. Like, he's like, right, I can take this. Which is why when he confronts Todd at the school for the second time, he's like, hit me again, because he's psyching himself up. He's getting used to getting hit.
Yeah.
Because he's never really been in too much of a fight before, like just a normal sort of high school fight anyway. So yeah, it's like, that's why as soon as he has done that is when he says to William, he's like, I need to go punch something.
Yeah.
And that's when he's like, he's like, I don't know, it's like a boxer training just before a fight kind of thing.
Speaking of punching, when Red Rush is punching Nolan, and he's just, you could tell he's like breaking his hands, but he can still move fast enough to still throw in like punches in the chest, and it's just like these broken hands being just
he does
broken
do
more.
some damage. Like Nolan, he's invincible, quote unquote, but like he's not invulnerable. Like he gets hurt.
Yeah.
Like he passes out at the end of the episode because of the damage that the Guardians did to him. Like, yeah, all right, he took them all out, but they did enough damage to knock him the fuck out in the process.
Yeah. And they tore through his costume.
Yep. I mean, that was just with those punches.
Yeah. And you can see the bruises underneath. But speaking of costumes, I want to talk about Rosenbaum. Dude.
Oh, okay, cool. How perfect.
Mark Hamill is awesome.
He is.
I mean, I can tell it's Mark Hamill, but at the same time, it's
it's almost like it's the most Mark Hamill, like not doing a voice. It's almost the closest to just him talking. It sounds like,
and I love that,
which makes sense because Art is just a guy. He's not a hero,
right? And with the limited amount of time they have, with just like 8 episodes, I'm glad that they took time to put Mark in the bulletproof outfit.
Yep.
The orange and yellow. I always liked the bulletproof outfit. Maybe not the orange and yellow so much.
I think they're introducing it because we'll hopefully going to see it again.
So for those of you that are just watching the show and don't know, Invincible's original name was going to be called Bulletproof. And that orange and yellow outfit was the outfit that was the original design.
There's a mock-up of the cover, isn't there? That first issue cover of him in that outfit. Yeah.
And so Kirkman literally said to like Cory Walker, I want something more iconic. And that scene then plays out in the comic the same way. And so later on in the books, we actually get a character called Bulletproof, I believe. And they wear that costume. Is he Bulletproof?
There is definitely a character named Bulletproof. I don't know if that's the... I think
but
he
wears the costume. But someone wears the costume.
Or is it Black Samson? Is that Black Samson who takes it? I don't know.
I don't know either.
Whoever it is. But yeah, that costume comes back. We will see that costume again.
Hopefully. Oh, wait, you know?
I don't know. I haven't seen it yet. But like, I'm sure that we will. I feel pretty confident.
But
yeah, I mean, and Mark mentions, he's like, I like the goggles.
Right.
And so when he puts on his sort of makeshift costume with the mask,
also straight out of the comic.
Yeah, exactly. He has the goggles, and I thought of you as soon as it happened. Like when he takes that first punch in the face, those goggles are broken
already.
Set a precedent. Like that first fight.
Did you see that the new Invincible action figures?
No, not yet.
Oh, you haven't seen them?
No, I was doing a quick search literally just before we started recording because I was like, well, Amazon are bound to have all the stuff now.
Well, yeah, they Skybound put out 2 action figures of Mark. One is a clean version and one's a bloody version, and it's literally head to toe blood. And I want to say the goggle is broken on the action figure.
If it is, that's the one I want.
I'm pretty sure if you just go to like Skybound's Instagram, it's got to be on there like one of the first things.
Here we go. Skybound Invincible figure.
Yeah, the bloody variant.
Oh wow, yeah, that bloody one.
Like I kind of want that blood. I haven't collected toys in a long time, but
I haven't.
But that bloody Mark is really good. You know what I liked about this? Broken. There was plenty of room in this episode to showcase that Ryan Otley sort of violence and blood, but they didn't.
Out off
until the Guardian scene, which is great.
The other thing that I thought, and I noticed it more this second viewing, is like we get some superhero score in the White House fight, and when Mark is like flying around the city and stuff, it's like normal sort of superhero music. The thing that threw me is that as soon as he puts on the costume, we get a soundtrack. Like we get Cage the Elephant is the song that plays, and there is more songs coming forward, which is nice. It's like a nice change up from just having score. We've got some soundtrack as well.
Well, what's crazy is I feel like that's unique to animation, which is what also unique is it's a 45-minute long show, an hour with commercials, which is crazy. Like I said before, I don't know if I've ever seen an hour long animated series. And then I'm like, oh man, will it make it boring? I've never watched a series that long, but man, I was entertained.
Well, it plays and it's sort of structured like a live action series.
Right.
and it plays out in the same way. Like, it felt like almost like if they could afford to do this live action with everything that they've got in it, they might have. I mean, there's still the movie that might be coming. Who knows? I don't think I want it at this point. We've got Invincible in the perfect way.
I kind of agree. Like, what do you do with the movie? Like, you'd have to know that you'd need to do at least a trilogy.
Yeah.
Have the first one end with the Guardians of the Globe, and then have the second one end with the thing we've been talking about, and then the third one being the resolution. But there's no way a studio is going to be like, okay, we'll set you up for a trilogy. It doesn't happen.
I really hope that this is it, and they just put any sort of commitment that they were thinking about with that to this show, and just go like, no, we are all in on the show. Because
then I would say, okay, if you don't have enough time to do a movie, do a live action series like Watchmen on HBO. But then at that point, we have this amazing art that looks like Otley and Walker. So why even bother casting
I think the only way that you could do it is like you have it in the same universe and just don't have it about Mark. Like, I don't know, maybe do something else in the same universe as the show.
Like Alan or
Alan or Astounding Wolfman movie.
Well, I'll go for
exactly.
That. I love Astounding Wolfman. That's how
you could do it. And it's like from the world of Robert Kirkman's Invincible, Astounding Wolfman, and then you could do that in 3 movies, or like I reckon you could probably do that in 1 movie. But and then you could have like someone playing. I mean, it'd be weird now without it being Steven Yeun, but let someone pop in as Mark Grayson in live action just briefly. Like, that would be a cool little crossover.
Because I mean, that's the thing is Mark.
I'll put Steven Yeun in the costume. I'd be fine with it.
Yeah, put him in the costume, because I was going to say Mark. I mean, throughout the course of the comic book, I mean, we spend more time with him, like outside of high school than we do inside of high school, and so like he's mostly an adult the entire run of the book. So just put him in the costume. He looks like him. He's got the same
kind
hair.
Of ageless anyway. Yeah. Like, he could play like early 20s, I reckon.
He's not as lanky.
No.
Which my wife
put him in a costume. I'm fine with it.
My wife Stevie laughed because at the Burger Mart, he's dragging the the trash bags out, and she says he's got like huge muscles and he can't even use them, which made me laugh. She knew it was coming. I knew it was coming, that he was going to throw the trash bag into space. You said there might be a trip to London. Do we already see it? We've already talked about the trash bag. Okay. Oh no. Yeah. Oh no. I don't want to spoil it. Does it land on John Hamm? Oh my God, dude. Okay, serious. Okay. Let me just say this. Is that I was disappointed by how the trash bag scenario ended.
Wait,
in the comic book. Yeah, it just kind of landed
just sort of
somewhere.
Like there. It's like, huh? No, we get a bit more of a scene to it.
Okay. Oh man, that's so good. I should have known.
Yeah.
I should have figured that out. Yeah.
Let's circle back, because you mentioned didn't like the change to Science Dog to Seance Dog.
I just thought it was. I just wanted to know why.
Yeah, I don't know why. I mean, it might be an AMC thing. Like, AMC might have some licensing to Science Dog because they used the logo or something in Walking Dead.
Right. You know what's funny is I liked that it looked like Seance Dog. It was a different kind of dog.
Because it's like for those of us who know and have been waiting for it, is like, it's such a Kirkman fuck you. And it's like, nah.
But Seance Dog looked like more like a beagle, and then also like Doctor Strange.
Yeah, he's got a Doctor Strange poster.
I'm like, Seance Dog, why the fuck would you change that? And then I was like, oh my God, he's like Doctor Strange. So now I'm imagining this whole dog universe, like Seance Dog and Science Dog, and I just want them to keep going. Like I want the Incredible Hound. Like
that'd be amazing. I hope we get to see a scene of Mark going to the comic shop and meeting the creator of Seance and Science Dog. Because we get a couple of those, or we get at least one of those in the comic, and it's basically Kirkman putting himself in his own book, and then slagging off artists, and just be like, yeah, sometimes we just repeat panels because it's like artists get lazy and they just need to meet deadlines, and then for the next 6 panels it's just the same shot.
Yeah, oh, it's so good.
So like, if they could make that an animation joke, it's like, oh yeah, no, if there's ever a Seance Dog cartoon, like, I don't know, it'd probably be really stilted and stiff, and then just keep the same frame for, a minute.
Or I guess the Simpsons did it, where they mentioned the background to keep things cheap. They repeat the background.
What have they not?
Yeah.
What else we got? Yeah, no. So we talked about Nolan punching Mark, and there was a couple of moments. The one where he sort of blows up at Mark, or like even when Mark tells him, I got my powers, and so Debbie has to give him a kick under the table. It's like, be happy for your son.
Right.
Like, you can see the gears turning in Nolan's head. He's like, I am conflicted about this. He doesn't know how he feels. And then he does blow up at Debbie at one point as well. Like, he shouts, and it's like, hang on a minute. Like, things aren't as kosher as they seem.
Right. And that's played out a little bit different in the book.
It's a bit more stretched out in the book, I think.
Right. The scene with Mark and his mom,
I
thought was really good. And it really, I don't think you get that in the book. And
no, Debbie doesn't really become much of a character until a little bit later in the books. She's just sort of there.
Right. But I like that scene.
Yeah.
I like that scene. She is essentially the one who is going to keep Mark grounded and keep his head out of the clouds.
And she says that. She's like, I might not be able to fly through the air while we talk, but we can still talk. I'm still your mum.
Right.
And like the fact that he's still just an idiot teenager who's like, yeah, mum, like, you're nothing special. Like, and it's like, kid, don't say that to your mum. That's just rude.
Yeah. And he told her, he says, make me.
Yes. The make me bit was like, ooh.
Like,
but it also seems so relatable because like, who at 17 or around there, like, didn't have conflict with their parents.
Yeah, and didn't snap and say something inappropriate.
And then sit down and be like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that, like.
But she gets the final word.
I love that. And that moment, God, I almost text my mum. I was like, you need to watch just this one scene. I was like, I'm sure we've had this conversation when I was a kid.
Right.
It's just like, I love my boring, non-superpowered mum. And she's like, and I love my asshole son.
Yeah. Kirkman. I love Kirkman. It's
so good.
Like just watching it, I could tell he wrote the script for the episode.
Yeah, definitely. He isn't the writer of the next 2 episodes, but it's like I'm glad that he did this first one because it sort of sets the tone, it sets the precedent. The friend who texted me last night didn't think the animation in this episode was as good as the next 2.
Okay.
And I was trying to pay attention to that when I watched it again, this first one, and I think it's great, but I could see what he means, and it's just that sort of bit before Mark gets his powers. It's a little bit stiffer, but I think it's intentional because it's a case of like, as soon as he does get his powers, everything's a little more
dynamic.
Flowing. Yeah, dynamic. But before that, it's all just a bit more rigid and a bit more stiff because I feel like that's sort of where Mark is feeling. Like that's how he's feeling. He's sort of stuck in his rut. He's like, he's going through the motions. He's going to work. He's going to school. Like things aren't going great, but he knows that it's just around the corner. It should be just around the corner. But yeah, no, I mean, after that, it's all.
I'm fine with the animation because it's not. Yeah, I mean, if I feel like if it was a more traditional animated, you'd kind of lose that Ryan Otley and Corey Walker look. They have very, very strong poses that they move from one pose to the next, which I really like. You could take any frame from the show
silhouette it,
and it'd be like the perfect frame.
I mean, that shot of him stood on the crane in his costume for the first time, the reveal of that, amazing.
Oh my god! And then who's the villain with the arm cannon?
Oh, Red something. Is it another Red something?
I think so. But when he says, "Who are you?" and Mark is about to say, "I'm invincible," but it cuts it short to show the title card.
Just cuts bang straight. I mean, I've got that marked down. I love it. And like that is a thing. They do that in all 3 episodes.
So I feel like that's another Kirkman thing. Like one of the things with the Invincible book, for those that haven't read it, is Kirkman kind of is one of these guys who subverts expectations. I know it's one of those things where you're waiting for him to say it, and he cuts it off at like the most awkward time. Like it's
and that comes up like the most awkward one, I think, is in the second or the third episode. And it's like, it's just, the line is, maybe we're not, bang, and cut to Invincible. And it's so good. We'll get there in a couple of days.
I think I liked everything about the show, and I know we've been gushing for a while now. I do have one minor gripe.
Hit me.
And it's the sound design. And I feel like there's something, like, because the animation is pretty limited as far as like background characters and stuff. Like when you're in the city, you don't get a lot of city sounds. I feel like you really only get the sounds of the talking and the sounds of the effects if something's happening. Like when you're in Mark's house, you just hear the talking. You don't hear anything. Like sometimes you would have like cars outside, or you would have
diegetic sound,
birds, or maybe a TV or radio or something. So that was really my only thing, was like I feel like it sounds like a motion comic where you only get like the dialogue and the sound effects of what's happening within the panel. And
I thought the exact same thing, the motion comic thing that you said in the opening scene with Steve the security guard.
Right.
But I'm gonna hold off on that until the second and third episodes, because I have the sound design as a thing that I wanted to talk about in those episodes.
Okay.
So awesome. It might just be a first episode thing. When I rewatch the second one again, like I'm going to be paying attention to other scenes, but there's a couple of scenes, and one in a city in particular, where I'm just like, I love the sound design in this.
Okay. Because I need to watch it again. When we first started, me and my wife watched, we couldn't hear the dialogue. It was so overtaken by the scoring, and so we did some adjusting on our TV. I'm like, oh shit, what's this voice zoom thing? So I'm gonna zoom the voices. So I'm like, okay, cool, I can hear them now. So I don't know if it's something I did, but I feel like I need to watch it again. But I just felt like I want more. Like it felt like very silent to me, and I don't need like music.
More of a living world as opposed to
especially when like you look at the halls of like the high school. Like it's not as densely populated as the book. So I feel like you need some sort of sound that makes it sound more full. But I mean, dude, it's not even a big gripe. I just didn't want to like gush.
That's the biggest thing that you got. Didn't want to. That's a pretty good.
The voice acting across the board, awesome.
Yeah, I think
awesome.
like.
I don't.
Yeah, I really liked Zazie Beetz.
Right.
I thought she was really good. I like the change that they've made to that character. I think it fits, it modernizes. Like we've taken away like the background characters at the high school of, the licensed characters that they may or may not be able to use, or they just are deciding not to.
Right.
But I feel like they've given more agency to Amber Bennett, instead of just being the pretty blonde.
Right.
She now actually stands up for herself, and she stands up for Mark as well. Like she's got some stuff to do.
Right.
And yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. That one stood out to me. I mean, across the board, it's phenomenal.
I'm still trying to get used to J.K. Simmons as Omni-Man, as Nolan, because he's J.K. Simmons. He's J.K. Simmons, and J.K. Simmons does not look like Omni-Man, and so I'm really trying to just focus on the character.
It's like, he's got a mustache, so there we go. We'll get J.K. Simmons.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know what you mean. I loved it. Like as soon as, I think after seeing the trailer and that clip of them playing baseball a couple of times, I was a bit like, oh yeah, okay, that's our Omni-Man. But now watching the show, I'm into it. I think he's really good.
Yeah.
I was a little bit cautious about Steven Yeun at first, like in those opening scenes before he's Invincible, because I was like, he just seems a bit flat. But then again, that same thing with the animation, where it's like I think he's a kid in a rut at that time. Whereas as soon as he gets his powers, he comes alive. Like he comes way more animated.
I really liked him. It's funny because it's, we've been reading this book since 2008 or something like that for a while. So you kind of have in your head your voices. So it's a little weird actually hearing voices come out of these characters, especially since they look like the book.
Because we know that it's such a big cast. I found myself on my first watch, I was like, okay, right, who's that? I was doing that a lot that first time round. And it wasn't distracting, but I definitely found myself trying to piece them together.
Right.
Whereas second time, I was enjoying it so much.
Right. Yeah, it's a tough thing because, I mean, now am I going to watch or read the book, and am I just going to be like, oh, J.K. Simmons' voice?
You're hearing those voices. I don't know if that'll happen with Nolan because Nolan's such a major character. I feel like Mark, Omni-Man, those sorts of characters that are at that level, you will probably keep the voice that you hear. But some of the side characters, I love it. I love that we've got a new voice for these people.
Yeah, I can't wait for Rexplode. I'm sure you've seen them already.
The team are possibly my favorite voice cast.
Because I was listening to How Did This Get Made, and at the end, Jason Mantzoukas was plugging Invincible. I'm like, oh right, he's Rexplode, and just hearing him say he plays Rexplode, I'm like, oh my god, like who? He's like so Rexplode is like a name I've known for years, but I've never talked to anybody about Rexplode except maybe a couple Invincible friends. Like, but now, like, just hearing Rexplode out loud in public, like, I'm like, oh my god, I'm so excited.
We will be talking a lot about Rex and Atom Eve next time, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, after we're done here, I'm watching episode 2.
Nice.
But then I'm gonna hold off on 3 before we record it.
Yeah, I'm gonna save it for a couple of days until just before we record our episode 2 podcast.
Yeah, so look for those on Wednesday and Friday. So
it'll be Monday, Wednesday, Friday that we're releasing this week.
This week, yeah.
So you're listening to this one on Monday, and then Wednesday, Friday.
I just want to watch them now, though.
Do it.
Okay.
Anything else? Have we got anything else to talk about?
No, I didn't really notice the score much, which is good. I've always said you don't want to be distracting. I did like that there was music in it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I can't. No,
I think we've covered it all. Or anything that we haven't is stuff that sort of rolls into the next couple of episodes.
Yeah.
I think where we've got 3 episodes this week, we could probably wrap this one up here.
All right, sounds good to me.
Cool.
And if you aren't already, go to Invincipod.com. You'll find links to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're at Invincipod everywhere.
Let us know what you thought of this first one. Love to hear it.
Yeah.
Leave us a review anywhere that you can leave reviews for podcasts, and tell your friends.
Yeah,
if you've got a friend who's just like, should I check out this Invincible show? Tell them to listen to us.
And definitely do a search on YouTube for Invincipod. We're posting these audio episodes on there as well. Leave comments and like and subscribe and share.
Yeah,
share with your friends.
It's the best thing you can do to help us.
I feel like just basically in my circles, as far as like social media goes, there's been a lot of interest for the show, a lot of positive talk about the show. I don't know, as far as the general public, how many people are watching it, I have no idea. I feel like we're in such a bubble where the people that we associate with are always excited for this sort of thing. But like, I'm hoping that Amazon are giving it a good push, and I mean, from the marketing that we've seen, they're marketing it well. So hopefully, it gets the right sort of audience. Right, and if you are watching this show for the first time and you do like it, like let people know, spread the word on Invincible, because if you like it,
we want more of this.
We want more seasons.
And like more seasons, and then potentially more shows like this, because I think this is proving, just with these first couple of episodes, that this is how you do a comic book TV show. Like, if you can't do it live action, if it's not a show that translates to live action, then you can do like high quality animation like this, and we want more of it.
Right.
Like adult orientated animation as well. It's like, this isn't a show for kids.
No.
No. Yeah, no, love it. Right.
All right.
Until Wednesday then.
Yeah, we'll be back Wednesday.
Yeah.
Episode 2.
With another episode of Invincipod. I'm James.
I'm Ralph.
Keep watching the sky.
Bye.